I think now it's 12. Let's start. I think with our session today. Dua and Rafi, everyone is with us. 33 participants. So let's start. You hear me well? Okay, great. First of all, I would like to welcome you all attending this session about consent management and customer authentication in the digital finance world, let's say, and which is the future of the financial service provider, banks and non-bank financial institutions worldwide. Actually, this session, it comes before we will link it to the other topic. I will start with some topic information, housekeeping information about the session and choosing the language. So Rafi, if you could share just the presentation.
Yes, I'll do it right now.
Actually, today, as I just introduced, our session is about consent management, customer authentication, and digital payments industry in general. We would have very unique speakers and panelists, let's say, who's going to participate with us during this session from different background and experiences as practitioners, as information provider, and an experienced in open banking and open data and open finance industry for the last years, let's say more than 11 years. We will talk about them actually shortly, but I will start first actually with, and I will introduce myself also. I'm Ziad Rifai. I'm coming from the experience of microfinance, MSME, financial inclusion for the last 25 years in the region, not in Jordan, only in the region. I'm a freelance consultant now working with Apex Jordan in the financial industry, financial inclusion aspect, let's say MSME and microfinance in general. I'm very pleased actually to be with you today. And in addition to me, I have my colleague, Rafi. Rafi has a long experience in the industry worldwide as an experience. If you can go to the next. Yeah, has a passion about economic development and financial industry in different sectors, agriculture finance, SME finance, and financial inclusion. So we will be both of us with you today. Inshallah, we will run a very successful webinar as the first one, inshallah, and wishing you the best. The next thing that I would like to highlight that presentation or the webinar is going to be multilingual. We have Arabic and we have English language. So you could choose from the top of your screen the language. If it's not there, you can press on the three dots, and the three dots will give you an options of original language, Arabic or English. So original language is in English. So if you can choose English to hear the English translation with disregard of what the speaker is going to use. And if you want to listen to the Arabic language, you can press the Arabic language. Anytime you can switch in between, it's up to you. This is very important. And throughout the webinar, actually, we will have a chat. Also, you know that at the chat bottom here up, you can provide us with the questions or notes that you would like to highlight either during the presentation of the speaker and then of the panelist of the session. And then we will use these questions or chats actually within our 20 minutes at the far end of the webinar to ask our panelists about using that question. So anytime you could use the chat button to share with us the details. The other thing that during the webinar, we will run some polls, questions that highlighted from the panelists that related to the topic that we are talking about consent management and customer authentication in the digital finance, digital industry. So we would, a pop-up screen would come up to your screen. So you choose what is the most appropriate according to your experience, according to your knowledge, what you think, in your opinion, is the right answer for the questions. That's simple questions that related to a type of getting the knowledge, the background and some information related to the session that we are running or the webinar that we are doing now or today. So, and we will share, sure, we will share with you the results once it's, everyone, most of participants replied, we will share that back with you. This is a general introduction, actually, about housekeeping. Let's say our session is going to last for 1 hour and 30 minutes. We have 3 presenters with us, and each presenter, you will present, a panelist, you will exchange some knowledge and experience from his background and his experience in the field. So that have saying this, actually, we will go to the first thing. I would invite our sponsor, actually, our founder, GIZ, Kauthar, just to give a welcome remark, short one. As Kauthar, she is the head of, it's a technical advisor with GIZ Amman, working closely with the central bank as a regulator in Jordan. And so I think the virtual floor is yours, Kauthar, to welcome the attendees and the participants. Go ahead.
Ziad,
thank you.
Ziad, thank you. You are too kind. Thank you very much. First of all, allow me to say to everyone, كل عام وانتم بخير. Happy and a blissful new Hijri year to all. And I'm particularly very happy that we are having such a number of participants and to this exchange. And I really encourage every one of you to take advantage of this exchange, and we can also support you with any other follow-up questions after the session. Myself as well, I'm also very keen to listen to the distinguished speakers and also learn more about this very important topic to Jordan industry. Thank you, and yeah, I'm looking forward to this to start. Thank you.
Thank you, Kauthar. Thank you for this speech, the notes, remarks to the start to kick off the session of today. Actually, I would like to highlight the thing that the first webinar we conducted 2 weeks ago, it was about open banking, open data, open finance, and the concerns and challenges that we may face, actually, that how it would impact the financial industry and the digital finance, let's say precisely. And today's session, and we highlighted at that time that there is a crucial role that it was needed to make sure of the data privacy and the data security. And at the same time, because this is what it's about in open banking in general, to impact, enhance the financial services and provide innovation solutions, actually. Today, our session is about the other part, which is how to enrich the open banking and open data, open finance with the information. This is one, to ensure for the provider that we are responsible for your data. We provide a secure data, a secure channels. We provided a trusted information about you to the third parties, to use it for you, to anyone that would enhance and innovate financial services in general. And that would include data sharing, that trust and confidence, that would reflect the approach of. This is why today we have that consent management and customer authentication experience, and how it would reflect on enriching and enhancing the open bank database and the information that we could provide for a third party that would help him to produce new products and services. And this is why we have our three panelists with us today, with different background and different experience to share with us their knowledge, their background, their advices in this regard, how to enhance and make the ecosystem work properly and successfully, actually, securely also. That would build the trust with clients, with users. And this is the main course of. So data security, compliance, and trust that would enable sharing information with the third parties to enrich or to enhance the financial industry practices, provide innovative solutions. You know that customer authentication in the beginning refers to verifying the identity of the client. And this is the cornerstone of such, what is the customer authentication? It's just to verify the identity of the user that we could provide for others later on, a third party who could use it for taking some decision. It's talking about knowledge factors, talking about a position factor and enhance factors, where those combined, it will represent a multi-factor authentication. This is what we mean when we are talking about customer authentication. It's include three factors, maybe doubled or tripled or multi-factor authentication approach. Consent management is how to use to get the approval of the user of using this data, to collect the data, to use it, and to share it. And this is very important, let's say, that will provide data, open data and banking, open finance and open banking information with much more information. We have to make sure of the consent approach of collection and consent record, the right of the user to revoke the agreement or the consent at any point of time. So the effectiveness of customer consent management and customer authentication, it would reflect an efficient open banking and open data, open finance information that will use it safely, to secure that data and make sure of the privacy. And this is what users they would wanted to make sure of it. Allow me first to invite our first speaker, who is Mr. Simon. Simon, he has, since 2010, he is the godfather of, let's say, the open banking, open data, open finance industry. And he started the first, it's founder of Open Banking Project, open source API platform. And since within the last 11 years, he was working closely with regulators and financial institutions in providing an experience of using sources of data, open data and open finance to build innovative products and services. So I will give you the floor, the virtual floor, Simon, and you can start your exchange of information and experience. Thank you, Simon. Go ahead.
Thank you, Ziad. Thank you very much, and thank you everyone for for organizing this. So I've just started my stopwatch, 12 minutes, let me share my screen. Here we go. Can you see my screen, folks?
Yes, we can see it. Yes, go ahead.
Fantastic, fantastic. All right. So a little bit about us. So I'm speaking to you from Berlin in Germany. We're called Tasobi. And as Ziad mentioned, we started this whole open banking kind of movement by talking at actually an IT conference in Berlin, a couple of conferences back in 2010. An Open Bank project is an open source set of software repositories focused around open banking, open finance, open data, etc. Quick agenda for you. I'm going to talk about auth and auth. So this is a shorthand for authentication and authorization. and then some aspects of API security, consents, of course, and what, some glimpses of the future maybe. So as Ziad mentioned briefly, authentication is really about identifying the user, the customer. It can also be about identifying an application, actually, like an app or a web service which is talking to another, which is talking to the API. And indeed, this kind of software-to-software communication is also an important part of the open banking security framework. One thing that needs to be done before a customer can be authenticated is they need to be kind of onboarded into the digital system. In other words, you can't authenticate until you are known to the bank, and until you are until that legal entity is linked to customers at the bank. And an important part after this is this consent process, whereby the customer gives consent to share their data, but also the bank is earlier on in the step. The bank is giving consent to the application to get data. And actually in regulated schemes, so for instance under PSD2, it's up to the national authority to give this instruction to the bank to give consent. So there's a large kind of dance of consents and authentication. And of course, in authorization, that means like what you're allowed to do, what you're allowed to see. This is a kind of slightly technical diagram, just kind of showing that how the information flow is protected. So this is the server on the right, the API server. The bank kind of sits to the right off the screen. And on the left, we have the application or the consumer. And there is something called mutual TLS. So we use TLS all the time. Mutual TLS is a bit stronger. So it's also making sure that the client, the application is identified. We are signing the request so that we can't have like a so-called man in the middle attack. Could be woman in the middle attack, of course. And the response is also signed, right? So we're sure. So the app is sure that the data they're getting back, for instance, the balance or the list of transactions, is actually what the server is sending, right? Because obviously, if that's not, then there could be other problems. Now, in consents, there's a couple of important principles. One is that the privacy of the customer, so that's you and me who wants to share our data, this privacy is preserved until after we start giving our consent, right? So in other words, and if we go to a new application, maybe it's a mobile application, a web application, or like some kind of accounting package or so, the application says, hey, do you want to give access to your data to this bank account? We say yes, but we don't log in yet. We don't. So the third party doesn't know anything about us until we say yes, and then we log in, right? And then we can confirm. And we're going to show this process in a minute to you on a kind of actual server showing the data that flows. And then later on in the process, after the basic login, is the SCA, or the strong customer authentication, and that is when we're using, some kind of other second factor which is linked to something we have in our possession, or so, which extends our something we have. So we might have a password, we have that in our head, but we might have a mobile phone which we have in our hands. So this is where the
May I stop you here?
Yes, go for it. Go for it.
Just to run the poll before going in depth on this. This is, you can see the first poll in front of you, dear participants. So you can choose which you think is the better authentication, who's doing better authentication from the following applications, let's say. That would give an indication.
Thank you, Ziad. Thank you. All right, so I'll go to the next screen. So this is basically just showing it in a little bit more detail. So for instance, here we have the start of the consent process. So which data do we want to have, do we want to give to the third party, right? Then we log in. So this is with the username, password, and there will be an SCA flow there as well. And then we can confirm, okay, I want these accounts and I want this data, right? And after that, the application gets a token. It's something called JWT, so it's a JSON token, and they get back this data in JSON, right? So this is just the kind of format that the software programs understand. Marco, could you share your screen and we can just show that?
I'm not allowed to do that. Could you give me?
Yeah, please give Marco the access to share his screen.
If we can share now with you actually the results according to the participants, the attendees, they think that smartphones provide the most secure authentication or better authentication than any other application.
Okay,
even better than banks, 27% for banks, but smartphones, so really, okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, I can share at this moment. Screen share. Okay, can you see my screen, guys?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay, let me see. Dismiss. Okay. Let me try to share the whole. Now.
Yes, we see something.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
We see the. Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
All right. So let me just talk through this pretty quickly. So Marco is showing like the start of the consent process. So imagine this is some web application. It is a web application actually. So we put in our IBAN number that we want to share. We give the types of permissions. And the frequency per day, for instance, that's so we're showing a Berlin group specification consent here. And yeah, then we press the button to give consent. Please carry on, Marco. Great. And now Marco is being asked to authenticate. So you remember I said that we don't authenticate until after the customer has given consent. Please carry on. And now can you click on the review? Yeah, so this is basically reviewing, and if you can confirm, carry on, Marco. And now this is the SCA step. So this would be sent via SMS or via an application such as Authy on your mobile phone. Please carry on, Marco. Okay, now we've got the consent back and we can see some of the data. If you could scroll down, Marco. So this application is using the consent that we just received to get this data. And we are deliberately showing this in the JSON format so that you can see the type of data that the API wants to send. And now if we can also start the process of making a payment from this point, the consent gives us some basic kind of starting point, and we're actually going to do a low value payment here over one of the Berlin Group APIs. Yeah, that's and maybe we can see that the balance changes. So this is one of the APIs, the endpoints that returns the balance of the account, and there it is, changed a little bit. All right, Marco, thank you very, very much for that.
And maybe just to show Simon that if we try to use this endpoint more than 20 times per day, then we'll get the message. Okay, I can show that maybe.
Okay.
That's the maybe interesting here. If I can try to use that more than 20 times, then we'll get this message. Too many requests, and for this day, you cannot use that more than 20 times.
Okay, that's great, Marco. Thanks very much. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, Marco.
Great. So I will now just switch back very quickly to the presentation, just to finish my presentation. Yeah, so we just had a look at the consent tester. So yeah, so there's obviously talk about open banking, open finance, etc. Open finance is generally accepted to mean a greater set of data, so including mortgage, insurance, and so on data. And this will require a kind of greater set of consents, so a little bit more fine-grained access to your data and to APIs. So in fact, I would see it like almost turning into almost like kind of partner APIs, right? So the APIs will become much greater in number. And with the new PSD3 that has just come out, there will be some changes to authentication. So the process is getting a little bit easier, on the customer, and so on. And that's it. I think,
allow me just to run the third poll here at this stage.
Okay, great.
The second poll, please, Karnik. Because that one is, I think, reflected to the first one. How about you are satisfied with ease of use of your personal banking application? However, we saw in the first poll about they trust more mobile phones than banking applications.
Right. Let's see.
So let's see here what the attendees, the participants, background and experience actually. We'll wait like to have at least 50%. I encourage everyone to respond actually to this. That would give us an indicator. Actually, we'll use it for further sessions, for the next sessions, webinars that we're going to run within the coming months, let's say.
Yeah, and maybe I can just say, okay, go on. Do you want to give the results? No, okay, I'll go ahead. Yeah, so
we'll
this
wait
is
the results. We'll wait the results, please, Karnik, and then we'll give you the floor for the last minute.
Okay, okay, great.
88% is yes.
88% says they like the authentication procedure. Okay.
Yes.
Cool. Interesting.
Yeah, go ahead.
Right. So yeah, this is just a couple of takeaways from the new PSD3. Actually, we're producing a report on this, which will be published pretty soon, a kind of summary of PSD3. But a couple of points are that the AISP or the TPP will be allowed to do some of the SEA process after the initial kind of onboarding of the customer. They're going to authenticate every 180 days instead of every 90 days. And this was found to be quite a blocker in UK open banking, like customers didn't like to re-authenticate all the time. And there will be some movement in how you can authenticate, so to improve accessibility, so not just reliant on smartphones, etc. Yeah, so that's my presentation. Thank you for listening, folks.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you for your input and for your exchanging your knowledge and experience in this regard, actually. And that would lead us to our next panelist, actually, Arija Bedat. Arija Bedat, she is a branch manager at CREF. CREF is the credit bureau of Jordan, who is providing information about to a third party. Financial information that related to banking and non-banking financial institution in general. She has more than 18 years of experience in the banking technologies and in different sectors, actually, in general. She has a good knowledge, excellent knowledge in risk management, sustainability, credit scoring, open banking and open finance, MSME lending in Jordan and the region. I will give you the virtual floor, Arish, to start your presentation, and wish you the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Ziad. Can you please confirm that you're seeing my screen?
Yes, we are seeing it. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. First of all, just a small update. It's CREF Information Technology Solutions, and we're a privately company registered in Jordan last year. And we are in, actually our mandate is somehow different about the credit bureau mandate, which is basically focusing on the banking and insurance industry in terms of providing non-credit information, yet it will help the lending and the risk management process, but from different angles. I know that your theme is talking about the consent management and the customer authentication, but I will highlight more about what's next and why do we need this step as a prerequisite if we're going to onboard the MSMEs to benefit from the digital payment services or any other banking digital services. So basically, a very quick introduction about CREF Global in general. So far, we're existing in more than 40 countries around the world. And we launched the operation to provide the digital services in Jordan in November 2021. Our mandate is to provide a full-fledged, let's say, lending processes, collection management, business information data. Adding to that, the normal insurance and the credit bureaus. In the theme of supporting the MSMEs business, CREF ITS has a very focused mission in providing the financial institutions and the MSME and the fintech companies with a data-driven tools in order to achieve a sustainable business relationship with the financial institutions, as well as the business partners in terms of customers, supply chain, and so on. I'm addressing some local insights out of a study that is published by Central Bank of Jordan and GIZ recently in 2022. Basically, 48% of the SMEs or MSMEs have a bank account, and only 28% of them having an outstanding loan or a credit card from a bank or a financial institution, and 31% of them are using the digital payments. Another recent strategies, or let's say high-level regulation guideline published by Central Bank of Jordan is the open banking strategy and the green finance guideline recently published, I think, this month. From the past, like 1 year and a half, I can address that in Jordan, the SMEs' access to finance main challenges are the data availability, the technical knowledge, and how the SMEs may present themselves to the financial institutions, how they, for example, would be investable, and what is needed to enhance their investment readiness. And finally is the digital maturity, because when you say customer authentication, it's about using digital tools in order to authenticate yourself. And without having that digital maturity, you will not be able to onboard yourself or to authenticate yourself or to register yourself as a company. I think we have a poll now, Ziad.
Yeah, we run the poll. Arish, if you can change the layout, the presentation, you are sharing the other screen where it is include the next slide. It's not a full screen. I'm afraid that they cannot read.
Okay.
While they are answering, I encourage everyone actually to answer this poll. What's the most important driver for enhancing the MSME access to finance?
Is it?
Now, yes, it's okay now.
Okay.
Yes, now it's okay. Yeah, Karnik, if you can provide us with the answers. So, Reach, the 53% of the participants, more SME banking products.
Again, Ziad, please.
Yeah, as you can see the screen, the 50%, 55% are more SME banking products. And
okay.
Yeah.
Somehow practical, because if you can scan the market, a very minimum focus from the banking on SMEs, especially I think having a green finance strategy coming around would encourage the banks to have more, let's say, a proposition to support the SMEs.
Yeah.
Yes, especially if we're talking about the energy saving companies, alternative energy, and so on. And most of them definitely will be within the SME segment.
Industry.
Yes. Now I'll be addressing a part of what the CRIF is doing to support the ecosystem. And I can define the ecosystem here as the banks, the fintech, and SMEs. And when I say fintechs, I mean the payment service providers, fintech companies, open banking, maybe providers, and so on. So I can see that CRIF is supporting each stream with a set of proposition, and I will mention a sample of these solutions. Again, under the umbrella of enhancing the SMEs' access to finance. Okay.
Yeah.
So first is the loan origination, or let's say the digital lending. Providing digital access to your lending process would support the SMEs and the MSMEs in accessing that origination process. And definitely the consent management and the customer management and the customer onboarding is part of it. The more automated, the more digital lending process you have within the bank, the easy to access to the finance, and even speeding up the time to market. If you can see the ROI coming from investing in digital lending or loan origination system is 4 times the manual way. And this is the first one. I'm showing one of our use cases. One of our case studies happened in Saudi Arabia. One of the banks were looking to, and it's a very huge financial institution in KSA, and it was ranked within the top 5, giving the portfolio within this bank. They were looking to have like a special division within the bank serving the commercial segment or serving the SME segment. And CRIF at that time was engaged to provide a review of the current lending and process within this bank. And finally, we found more than 60 gaps. And we assessed to have a better, let's say, at the operational level, even not only at the solution level. And that was the use case within this bank. And finally, we ended up having a roadmap to be implemented over 1 year to better enhance serving the SME segment. The second one also is the customer verification that would help onboarding the SMEs or the businesses, and we call it here KYC or KYB. CRIF is providing also a Know Your Business module where you can onboard your SMEs and MSMEs through a fully digital channel with a special local integration with some entities in the country where we implement. And this, of course, will help the MSMEs across the country. So you don't need to go and onboard yourself physically in the branch of the bank. You can do this remotely through the Know Your Business channel. And I can show a use case, one of the Jordan use cases, where we collected the needed data to have this cycle fulfilled through the company control department. And you can see that the registration certificates are available publicly on this website. So we fetched the data into the onboarding module, and that is part of the customer authentication or the customer verification process for any digital lending, digital payments, whatever it is, account verification, account opening within a bank. It's a mandate process if we really need to switch to digital services. Sorry?
Can run
I
the
think
whole now? Yeah.
we have that. Yeah.
Yeah. Please, Garnick, you can just run the 4th one. What's the most important factor in enhancing the MSME authentication and consent management among the 3 choices? What do you expect, Arij?
Wallahi, all of them are applicable, but I think the most is, from my opinion, is having more enforcement to reach the digital channels. and definitely the consent management will be the prerequisite of having any digital service. So more enforcement from the service providers to use the digital channels, then this will enhance the authentication and the consent.
But the participants, the attendees, actually, they has a different point of view. They said that 62% and then 31%, 62 for enhancing digital maturity, because I think they think that it's not yet mature. And then it's keep changing, 57 and 29 for more enforcement.
I think we're aligned because if you enforce a process, if you enforce a certain behavior, then definitely you need to enhance your maturity at that level. So the enforcement to be successful. Okay. Coming to from where we started as CRIF providing credit scoring and risk management tools and so on, I'm showing one of the use cases where we really need it in Jordan, yet nothing is practically or seriously happened on ground. Because we're talking about the micro, small businesses, and especially the financial inclusion, and where we as service provider should help. This use case happened in Italy, and it was about collecting data from one of the utilities entities in Italy. So we collected around 8 years of bills data for unbanked customers in order to have an insight or eligibility check about this segment if they really need to benefit from financial services. And the main takeaways from this use case was that alternative data source will definitely add value to predict the risk or the probability of default or the willing to pay, in general, the behavior of the customers, especially in absence of the credit bureau data. We're talking about the unbanked, where no credit bureau data are available, no historical financial statement are available. So we rely here on the water bills data or one of the utilities. Again, telco and financial institutions, one of the collaboration that would help the ecosystem between telco and financial, between utilities and financial, in order to at least enhance our financial inclusion for this. Ziad, do I still have time?
You have still, if you can choose one of the most important slides that left, if you can.
I think, yeah, I reached the last one. The last thing where we can help to support this segment is having something called business finance management. And in this proposition, actually, we are benefiting from the open banking or open finance regulation, because we're accessing the SME bank accounts through that module, and we connect all the bank accounts to the accounting or to the ERP system within this company. And this will give a non-financial, let's say, services to the SMEs. And all banks definitely are starting providing non-financial services for the SMEs, because it's not about, the success criteria is not about opening an account for the SME. It's about having a successful business relationship with this company and helping them achieving their business revenues and so on. So this module would help the SMEs, and it works as a financial advisory for the SME segment in collaboration with the banks. So I reach my last slide, Ziad, if you have any questions.
Thank you very much, Reej, for your information and examples of alternative data, alternative information, depending on other information to enrich innovative approaches of digital finance. That would lead us actually to our third speaker panelist, which is he's Mr. Ali Saad. Mr. Ali Saad, he's come from background of microfinance and SME industry. He started as a loan officer in Mansoura Taqalhiya Microfinance Institution, one of the largest in the Arab world actually, and in Egypt. He's the general manager of the Egyptian Federation of Financing Small and Medium Micro Enterprises in Egypt. He's a certified trainer and certified with knowledge actually in financial inclusion, trainer and consultant actually for a large number of microfinance institutions in the Arab world. I would welcome Mr. Ali, and I will shift our presentation to be in Arabic. The slides is going to be in English, but Mr. Ali would start to share his experience in Arabic. So if you would like to either to stay in the English channel or you shift up to you. So the floor is yours, Ali. تفضل معك الوقت. شو رح تعطينا خبرتك بهذا الموضوع؟
شكرا جزيلا، وطبعا سعيد ان انا معاكم كلكم النهارده. سعيد جدا وبشكركم جميعا على الفرصه الجميله دي. الصوت واضح؟
واضح.
انا بس بحاول اطلع ال
For translator, is it okay?
Yes, it's good.
Okay, great.
كده الشاشه واضحه عند حضراتكم ولا لسه مش واضحه؟
لا جو اهيد.
سكرين
اعمل شير. لا لسه ما عملتش الشير سكرين بتاعك.
اوكي واضحه كده؟
لسه نستنى.
لسه المفروض كده يكون واضح بقى، الشاشه تكون ظهرت.
طلعت شاشة ثانية، لسه مش الشاشة اللي فيها البرزنتيشن.
حتى دي؟
ايوه، لا هلا هيك كويس
كده تمام.
اوكي
تمام. طبعا انا في البدايه بس عايز اوضح، احنا بنتكلم عن في مصر، احنا بنتكلم في دوله تعداد سكانها يتجاوز ال 100 مليون نسمه. اغلب المناطق اللي فيها مش حضريه، اغلبها مناطق ريفيه او صحراويه، سواء في صعيد مصر او في دلتا مصر. بنتكلم النهارده عن الدفع الغير النقدي او الديجيتال بيمنت بشكل عام. دي النقاط اللي هنتناولها النهارده ان شاء الله. بناخد فكره كده عامه عن الصناعه في مصر، عن الديجيتال بيمنت بشكل عام. بنتناول ايه التحديات اللي هتواجهنا، او ايه اللي موجوده، ايه اللاعبين الكبار اللي موجودين في السوق المصري في مجال الديجيتال بيمنتس. وفي الاخر بنقول ايه الوضع المتوقع او المستقبلي، او الخطوات اللي تم اتخاذها بالفعل عشان نقدر نوصل بمعدلات اداء مرضيه بالنسبه لنا كصناعه دفع الكتروني او التحول الرقمي بشكل عام. خلينا نتناول هنا، ما زلنا في مصر 90% من المعاملات بتتم عن طريق النقد. يعني البيع والشراء الكاش هو الرقم الاكبر. والتجارب على كده، حتى في التجارب الشخصيه اللي بتحصل، حد بيبيع عربيه، بيشتري عربيه، بنلاقي المبالغ بتتنقل في الاكياس من محافظه لمحافظه داخل مصر حتى هذه اللحظه. لسه الاعتماد على التحولات البنكيه او الكروت او الكلام ده مش الناس لسه مش متعوده عليه. لكن في معدلات نمو بقى كبيره جدا في كروت الائتمان والموبايل بيمنتس، معدلات كبيره في الوضع السابق بالمقارنه بالوضع السابق، لكن ما زلنا بعيد قوي. فالكاش هو بيمثل 90%، الكروت استخدام الماستر كارد والفيزا كارد بتمثل حوالي 10% دلوقتي من الاستخدامات او من المعاملات. الموبايل بيمنت اعتقد ان هو النجم القادم، يعني الفتره اللي جايه كلها هتشمل او هتعتمد فيها على الموبايل بيمنتس بشكل كبير جدا. معدلها النهارده 5%، بس احنا كنا بنتكلم من سنتين مثلا في 1%. فالمعدل النمو فيها هو اللي زياده، وده اللي بيخلينا متوقعين انه يحصل فيها يعني نقله نوعيه كبيره. طبعا اغلب الشباب الجيل الجديد كله بيعتمد على الموبايل بيمنتس في التعاملات بتاعته. وده اللي بيخلينا نقول المثال ده، عندنا اكتر من شبكه اتصالات كلها معتمده على الوولت اللي بيستخدمها الشباب في المعاملات النقديه بتاعتهم. طيب، في نقله نوعيه حصلت في السوق المصري في استخدام الدفع الالكتروني والبيع والشراء الاونلاين بشكل عام بعد كوفيد 19، زيها زي ايه يعني اغلب دول العالم. من التوقيت ده في دراسه اتعملت، كانت الارقام بتاعتها بتتكلم في ان في حوالي 67% من الناس في مصر بدأوا يتجهوا أو بدأوا يستخدموا الدفع غير النقدي، وبدأوا يشتروا عن طريق الأونلاين في وجود جائحة كورونا. الدراسة بتأكد برضه إن 90% منهم ما زال بيستخدم الأدوات دي حتى بعد انخفاض، أو بعد يعني مش عايزين نقول انتهى، بس يعني بعد انتهاء آثار جائحة كورونا. هم ما زالوا معتمدين فعلا في معاملاتهم على الأونلاين في الشراء والبيع، وعلى الإي بيمنتس بشكل عام. 89% منهم بيأكدوا إن هم مهتمين بيها وحريصين عليها عشان استخدامها في الوقت والمكان، أقرب وقت وأقرب مكان بالنسبة لهم. بنتكلم في ان 54% منهم بيأكدوا ان هم الادوات دي ساعدتهم على ضبط آلية الرصد المبيعات، او رصد المشتريات، او رصد الانفاق يعني المدخولات والانفاق. فهو عمل له عملية الرصد دي وساعده على انه يضبط بعد كده مصاريفه. فلو هو كان على سبيل المشروع فهو عمل ضبط للميزانية بتاعته، ولو على سبيل الافراد هو قدر يحكم انفاقه رايح فين وجاي منين من خلال بقى الريسيست اللي بتطلع من خلال الرسائل الاسم ايز اللي بتيجي له. فهو قادر يحكم مصاريفه وايراداته. فعشان كده حتى بعد انتهاء جائحة كورونا هو ما زال حريص انه يستخدمها او يعتمد عليها. طبعا هنتكلم عن المزايا الخاصة بالدفع غير النقدي او الديجيتال بيمنت بشكل عام. اكيد طبعا هي يعني طبعا فعالة اكتر في التعامل مع الافراد، ما فيش فيها بقى الالتزامات الورقية او ضرورة التحرك او توفير المواصلات. طبعا هي فيها استدامة كبيرة انها في توفير الاوراق اللي بتطبع، ومحاولة يعني السيطرة على البيئة بشكل عام او المحافظة على البيئة بشكل عام. وفي النهاية هي سهولة الوصول. يعني احنا لو بنتكلم عن عدد ماكينات الاي تي ام اللي موجودة في السوق، عدد الكروت اللي موجودة النهاردة في السوق، ده بيساعد قطاعات كبيرة. اللي انا كنت عايز اضيف اليه ان بدات الامور دي كمان تنتشر في المناطق النائيه والقرى. فهي لسهوله الوصول بقينا نسمع من حتت نائيه قوي او قرى بسيطه جدا، انا هعمل التحويل بتاعي عن طريق الوالlet الفلانيه او عن طريق التليكوم الفلانيه. بدا ده يتردد وده ينتشر، وده بيخلي ان احنا متوقعين ان الخطوه اللي جايه تبقى افضل بكتير. طبعا دي كلها بتصب في النهايه في تحقيق بقى الشمول المالي. يعني دي كلها خطوات ساعدتنا ان احنا نقول ان احنا متجهين اكتر للشمول المالي او رايحين له بشكل افضل يعني. طيب، عايز اتكلم عن اللعيبه الكبار في السوق المصري حتى هذه اللحظه. احنا عندنا فودافون كاش، ده تيليكوم بس عنده محفظه، يعني بيعمل وولت، وبصراحه عامله يعني فاعليه او عامله حراك كبير جدا مع السوق. فبقت اغلب الناس حتى في المحلات الصغيره بيتكلم بيها. الوورد دي مربوطه بالرقم القومي للعميل وللرقم التليفون بتاعه. فهنا مش بالضروره ان اللي يستخدمها فودافون كاش تحديدا انه يكون عنده وولت او يكون عنده حساب بنكي. هنا بنتكلم عن ان هو ممكن يستخدم اي سوبر ماركت صغير موجود فيه البي او اس ماشين بتاعه الدفع غير النقدي العاديه، ويكون عنده محفظه فودافون كاش دي، فيقدر يعمل عمليه التحويل من خلالها لاي مكان في البلد. الفكره في معدل استخدامها. طيب، فودافون كاش بنعتبرها رقم واحد، لكن عندنا برضو لاعب كبير جدا اللي هو فوري. فوري من اللعيبه الكبار، عنده فوق ال 100 ألف بي او اس منتشره في على مستوى الجمهوريه. عنده الامكانيه انه يشتغل فيها 24 ساعه في السبع ايام في الاسبوع. الدنيا يعني متاحه. من اللعيبه الكبار، لان هو بقى له فتره زمنيه كبيره موجود، وقدر كمان ان هو يربط الخدمات كلها. فهو مش بس رصيد محمول، ده هو دفع الكهرباء، دفع المرفق المياه، التليفونات، يعني كل الامور دي كلها مربوطه عليه. بياخد المرتبه الثانيه في الحركه المحفظه. لكن انا شايف ان هو برضو الخطوه اللي جايه هتبقى هي الاقوى اللي انا عايز اتكلم عنها. آه، تابي اثناء اعدادي للماده اللي قدام حضراتكم ديت ما كنتش حاطه في حساباتي قوي. يعني انا لو كنت سالت قبل ما اجهز البرزنتيشن دي ما كنتش هحط تابي في الحسبان. لكن مع الدراسه ومتابعه بجهز الماده دي، فوجئت بتابي وحجم النشاط اللي هو عامله، وحجم انتشاره كمان العملاء، وخاصه الشباب، مع الشباب بالذات. اللي عايز اتكلم عنه واخد منه مساحه من الوقت اكتر شويه هو انستا باي. انستا باي ده برنامج عمله البنك المركزي المصري. هو تطبيق للتحويلات النقديه من البنك للبنك، او من البنك يعني من الحسابات البنكيه للحسابات البنكيه الاخرى، ومن الحسابات البنكيه للافراد. يعني انا اقدر احول من خلال الانستا باي ده آه، ك كمحفظه الكترونيه لحساب بنكي، او لخط لفودافون كاش، او عن لفوري. فهو يربط الحاجات دي كلها مع حساب بنكي معتمد من البنك المركزي المصري. وده اللي اداله كمان الصلاحيه وتخلى الاقبال عليه بقى اكبر. بالاضافه ان هو بيعتمد على الوقت. هو بيعتمد على تنفيذ العمليه في خلال ثواني. يعني من ضمن الشروط والضوابط بتاعته ان هو معتمد على انها تبقى ثواني، وانها تبقى 24 ساعه في السبع ايام بتوع الاسبوع. لو هتقول لي توقعاتك ايه خلال السنه اللي جايه دي، هنتكلم في نهايه 23 وقبل بدايه 24 او قبل نص سنه 24، اعتقد ان الانستا باي هيكون رقم واحد في مصر. لان كمان الشغل عليه مستمر بشكل كبير، وبيتجه للخدمات اللي كان بيوفرها فوري. فهو كل ما الخدمات بتزيد مع الضمان من البنك المركزي المصري، فده مديله سبورت قوي جدا.
ويرن ممكن قبل ما
أيوة.
نروح نعمل للبولز الاولانيه
مظبوط.
رقم 5. got it. Yes. What do you think are the biggest challenge that we may face the user in the process of using digital financial services? In terms of users here, because we are talking here على financial services provider as a federation with financial institutions directly linked to users. شو بتتوقع عليه أكثر شيء ممكن تكون التحدي الرئيسي؟
انا كنت عايز بقى هم الزملاء اللي يتوقعوا، بس انا عايز اقول طبعا ان انا نجهز البرزنتيشن على ان هو يعني الجزئيه خاصه بالوعي. الاويرنس ديت هي التحدي الاكبر، ان يكون وصل للناس كلها،
خاصة للفئة الممكن مستهدف في هذا المجال. نعم.
بالظبط.
خلينا نشوف Karnik if we can share the results so far. اها 69%، 69% هو عبارة عن الوعي بالتكنولوجيا. وبعديها سكند ان لاين 19% اللي هو التعقيدات بالاجراءات وتعقيد الاجراءات. يعني هي سهلة الوصول لكن اجراءاتها صعبة. فهاي واحدة من الاسباب، او ممكن تاخر الانتشار في هذا الموضوع. طيب اوكي. if you can move to the next slide. if you have a comment إذا عندك تعليق على هذا الموضوع.
انا طبعا يعني موافق الكلام ده، بس انا عايز كنت اتكلم على حته الضوابط او التعقيدات. هي حضرتك عارف طبعا انها عمليه موازنه. انا كل ما هقلل اللي ما يسمى بالتعقيدات وهتجه ناحيه البساطه، كل ما هيبقى فيه السكيورتي فيه مشكله، او امن المعامله نفسها هيكون فيه مشكله. فاذا كان المقصود بالتعقيدات هي الحرص من الناحيه الامنيه، فطبعا هنبقى احنا مرحبين بيها.
طبعا.
لكن انا مش شايفها تعقيدات قد ما انا شايفها هي تاكيد، وده برضه ده هيجي في السلايدز اللي جايه ان شاء الله.
يلا
إيه
اوكي.
اللي انا عايز اقول ان فعلا الاويرنس هو المشكله الاكبر، وكمان اللي ممكن نحطه في الحسبان هو ممكن نسميها الهاكرز، او اللي بنسميها عمليه الاحتيال اللي ممكن تتم. لان طبعا الناس بتستغل ده، وبتبقى يعني في مشكله في انها تخترق المعاملات الماليه، خاصه مع الفئات اللي هي الخطوات اللي اتخذتها مصر بشكل عام. انا عايز اتكلم بشكل مركز على كارت ميزه. كارت ميزه ده كارت تم استخدامه عشان يعني المعاملات الماليه، وده كارت مسبق الدفع، وبتقدر البنوك تسهل اجراءات فتح الحساب وغالبا بدون رسوم. الدوله خدت القرار ده عشان تسهل وجود الكروت للمعاشات وللمرتبات في ايدين الموظفين بشكل ايسر عليهم، ومن غير تعقيدات اجراءات وماليه. بقيه الخطوات طبعا انتشار البي او اس عن طريق المبادرات اللي نزلت للدوله، دي كلها ساعدت على ان كمان الناس المتاح ليهم ان هو يستخدم الادوات دي كلها. طيب عايز استخدم بعدك البولز الجايه من فضلك.
Yes, Garnick, we can run the other polls, the last one.
اجراءات برضو شويه اجراءات اتخذت، زي مثلا يكون الحد الادنى لاي سندات اكتر من 2000 جنيه، بقى في الزام انها تستخدم ماكينات البي او اس او الدفع غير النقدي. ده الزام من الجهات الرقابيه اللي موجوده. المصالح الحكوميه كلها يجب او في الزام ان تتم المعاملات كلها من خلال الكروت الائتمانيه او كارت ميزه. ده برضه كله بيشجع او بيحرك الدنيا في اتجاه ان السوق كله راح ناحيه الدفع الغير النقدي.
Yeah, actually, السؤال اللي كان طرحناه على البول هلا، do you believe that efficient consent management contributes to better financial inclusion for MSMEs؟ وهي بجوز اللي ذكرها علي في واحدة من التفاصيل، انها تأثر على بالاخر على الشمول المالي والاشتمال المالي لجميع الفئات. خلينا نشوف. Let's see what are the results so far. Garnet باقي before moving to the last slide I think. صح علي؟ بعدين بنروح له.
بس مش شايف الارقام، فاقول لي بقى حضرتك.
67% 67% yes significant. فالefficient consent management ما تكونش معقدة، تكون سهلة. جمع المعلومات واخذ الموافقات بطريقة ميسرة as a consent from the users، اكيد 67% بتأثر بالفاينانشال inclusion. السكند ان لاين to some extent. So مشان هيك يعني عم نحكي 99% تقريبا او 100% هم important، مهمين، سواء مهمين جدا او مهمين. اوكي.
يعني خلينا نقول برضو ان هو حته البوابات الدفع الامنه، وانها تكون منصات معتمده ورسميه، ده مهم جدا في التعاملات. الوعي اللي بيتم في الجزئيه دي مهم، نشر الوعي عن طريق الاعلانات اللي بتتم وعن طريق الارشادات اللي بتتم بشكل دائم. طبعا في مواقف كتير بتحصل بتخلي الجهات الرقابيه كلها تعيد النظر في الامر ده، يعني تحاول تمشي بشكل متسارع عشان تلحق ده. فعندنا برامج تمويل قايمه على الديجيتال، فقايمه على ان الموافقه بتتم عن طريق السكورنج اللي بيعتمد على صوره الرقم القومي، بطاقه الرقم القومي، والصوره الشخصيه للعميل، وعمل السكورنج ده بشكل آلي، يعني من غير ما يكون في مقابله مباشره مع العميل مباشره. طبعا دي خطوات ماشيين فيها بشكل يعني فعلي. عايز بس اتكلم عن الاي دي فيريفيكيشن، او اللي هو او ممكن نسميه الاو تي بي، اللي هو بيعتمد على ان يبقى رابط الموبايل مع الحساب البنكي عشان ياخد زي موافقات قبل تنفيذ العمليات. ده اللي متسارع بشكل كبير جدا الفتره دي، وده اللي هيضمن ان المعاملات تتم بشكل امن، عشان يبقى البساطه موجوده من غير التعقيد، بس بوجود الامان لضمان ان المعاملات تتم بشكل سليم. في النهايه بس عايز اتكلم ان في نقطتين مهمين جدا. لازم يكون في ابتكار في التعامل مع الامور دي كلها، خاصه مع الوعي الضعيف لاغلب العملاء. واتوقع كمان ان الجهات الرقابيه هيبقى عندها خطوات اكتر في الرقابه عشان تقدر تمانج الامور دي بشكل يكون امن اكتر. امبارح تحديدا صدر قرار البنك المركزي المصري بالبنوك الرقميه. من حوالي برضو يومين صدر 3 قرارات لهيئه الرقابه الماليه بتهيئه البيئه التكنولوجيه داخل مؤسسات التمويل وتناهي الصغر كلها، عشان تساعدها انها توفر بيئه امنه وتستخدم فيها الديجيتال بيمنت بشكل اكثر توسعا. فده توقعاتنا في المستقبل القريب ان شاء الله الاي سيجنتشر والاي كي واي سي برضه دي كلها امور ماشيين فيها دلوقتي.
هذا بجوز واحد من الشغلات اللي راح تأثر إيجابا بالصناعة المالية، financial digital financial services، التكنولوجيا المالية والفاينانشال انكلوجن. I think إنه هاي راح تكون واحدة من المحركات الرئيسية اللي راح تدعم هذا التواجد. التوقيع الإلكتروني والإلكترونيك كي واي سي وكل التفاصيل هاي ذات راح تقوي الاوبن بانكينج والاوبن داتا واوبن فاينانس انفورميشن فروم كلاينت او يوزرز. طيب ثانك يو علي، خلصت كده صح؟ شكرا علي على مشاركتك. وانا بطلب من الحضور اذا في عندكم اي اسئله. Sorry, I'm asking the attendees participants. We can shift back to the English channel. I'm asked if you have any question or just please share it with us at the chat channel. Down from your front screen, you have the chat icon, so you can press it and share your question. Until we receive a question, I don't know, Rafi, if we received any questions before. I was not following up the chat box. Do we have questions? Otherwise, I will go to my questions.
We had just a remark regarding the previous poll. One of the participants mentioned that maybe also there is need for protecting the privacy, I assume, regarding the data protection. It was the remark.
Yeah, sure. I think one of the important, I will leave that they will comment within their answering the question. Our question, because data privacy, security, and sharing that thing is very important in order to gain the trust of the users. And this is one of the main challenges actually using customer authentication and consent management practices. I would go to the first question actually to Simon. According to your experience and your lovely presentation that you shared with us, what is the most secure type of you could find as a customer authentication and consent management practices, systems, applications to enhance the experience of the users and the ecosystem of open banking and data finance and open data?
Okay, Ziad, yeah, thanks for the question. Yeah, my kind of a little bit jokey answer would be that obviously the most secure system is one that's not connected to the internet in any way, right? So as soon as you connect any system to a network, it's open to attack. There's always a trade-off, right, between convenience, and security. So obviously we have to, in this day and age, we have to connect systems to networks. But I think we're seeing some, in the last years, very interesting, developments. So for instance, so in the poll that we gave earlier, so 68% said the smartphones had the best kind of experience, right? Actually, I was interested that Google was low. That was only 4%. Facebook was like 0%. But maybe, I guess it's an either-or thing, right? But actually, what Apple and Co are doing, right? They are kind of balancing this convenience with security. So with their Touch ID, where you put your fingerprint, and with the Face ID, where you use your face, actually, in a sense, they are not increasing security because you still have the passcode behind this, right? So you can always authenticate to your phone using your passcode. And I think this is where education comes in, right? Because people should be educated that they should increase the length of their passcode. I think the default is now like 6 digits on an iPhone, but many people probably don't know that, right? So that if an attacker gets hold of your phone, then they can try and break the passcode, right? And of course, if attacker gets hold of your phone and they can force you to put your fingerprint or force you to look at the phone, right? So in a sense, like Face ID and Touch ID, Face ID, by the way, is more secure than Touch ID. But they are making it convenient because they don't force you to use your passcode, but therefore we should create longer passcodes and use the convenience factors instead of having to type in the passcode. So I think that's an interesting point.
Yeah.
I think one, if we talk about like corporate consents and so on and so forth. So, you know, there are systems and mathematical systems coming out which allow like passcodes or passphrases to be shared amongst many people. So maybe the accounting team or whatever like can share elements of passphrases amongst 3 or 4 people, you know, and if any one of those portions is stolen or lost, it doesn't compromise the rest of the passphrase. So this kind of thing is important if you're securing crypto assets, or they could also be used for securing, you know, corporate bank accounts and so on and so forth. So yeah, I think there's, you know, and as we heard earlier from Ali's presentation, you know, that mentioned Vodafone. I think you can have good systems which are using a combination of technologies. So simple SMS plus, you know, some kind of you know, national digital ID and so on, you know, can be really effective. So I think there's lots of room for creativity in this.
Actually,
in this process.
Can I say something, Simon, in addition?
Marco, you want to say something extra?
Yeah, I want to say something. I want to say something about biometric data. I would say that there's no a silver bullet regarding is it better password or biometric data. It's just environment which you are at that moment. For instance, if you are in a crowded environment, then you should probably use biometric data, because someone cannot see your password, what you type on your keyboard and things like that. But it's definitely, it's not a silver bullet. It's just, it could be easily compromised, maybe somehow, but at the moment you need to enter your credentials. It's better to do that via biometric data in such environment, you know. So I would say it's a complex. So this security is a complex thing, and yeah, that's the one thing. And what I want to emphasize with those results, when you say that you are surprised that Google is after your mobile phone. But I would say that question is a little bit interfering, because you know what? You can use your mobile phone to and use Google as an identity provider. And I would say the crucial thing is to use as less as possible identity providers. Why? Because I would say, sorry.
Okay, we maybe take this discussion later on aside, because
sorry.
Google but actually, I would say something that's very important that you shared, Simon, which we mistake that everyone, us as the users, we keep doing it, that we have one user complicated password that we use it to everything. Well, while I'm preparing for this session, I've read it that one of the risk, let's say, indicators, that if you are using the same password, it is complex password, but you are using it to multi-application.
For sure,
So
I would never do that, by the way.
So maybe users has to be aware of this, that don't do it. And me, I will not do it anymore now. I will change.
After this meeting, you're going to change all your passwords, right?
Actually. So
but I think the role, it was mentioned earlier, right? The role of education is super important.
This is the point.
You know, and this is something that the regulator can engage in Jordan, I think. And you know, actually, because open banking has to get a good reputation, right? And
education. Actually, this is the financial literacy issue and financial education, technological information, that would go to Arij actually. Thank you, Saeed, for your answer. I will go to Arij and ask her a question, which is really our participants, attendees, highlighted the data privacy issue and highlighted that we should care about security of information. How is your experience and your institution is doing that to balance between the strong security to protect the data privacy and in customer authentication while you are building a unique customer experience or user experience?
Thank you, Ziad. Definitely, you cannot reach that balance point because we all agree that having a secured digital payment process is a priority number one. So no one would care about the customer experience if he had any fraud or threat or whatever. But in order to somehow try to balance between the security policies and rules within this journey and the customer experience, I think capitalizing on the existing data within the bank, leveraging on the previous, for example, customer identification requirements. So do I really need to scan my ID each time I need to board myself? Because I'm a bank customer and all my data actually within this bank. And if any entity really need to authorize my signature, I go to my bank to authorize my signature for the benefit of governmental entities and some governmental processes. So try to capitalize on what the bank has in terms of data about this customer would make the process easier and more simplified. So I can see this is the approach if we really need to balance. But definitely we all agree that security is a priority number one.
Okay, so that's cool actually, and this is well in line with what we are saying about how to build the trust at the end. So security is end result is going to be the trust of the application, the trust of the concept of digitalization and financial technology.
And nobody will compliment about the customer experience if he really had a serious.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, thank you, Arij. I will go directly now to ask Ali from his experience actually in Egypt. I have a question here. ما هي تجربة البنك المصري مع الحساب البنكي الأساسي؟ ما بعرفش هذا السؤال جانا كتير تفصيلي، ما بعرف إذا من حد المشاركين، بس أنا بحب أسألك سؤال، يا ريت إذا في عندك تجربة قصة كيف أثرت الكاستمر اوثنتيكيشن والكونسنت مانجمنت، أثرت إنها عملت ثقة وأمان في الشركات الفاينانشال انستتيوشن. في عندك خبرة في مصر ميوتد أنت علي، في عندك خبرة في مصر صار فيها اكسبيرينس بهذا الموضوع؟ انها
انا مش عايز احكي عن يعني حاجه من اللعيبه الكبار، عايز اتكلم عن كيس السعودي، عن جمعيه مش بحجم كبير لكنها عملت خطوات يعني كانت ملموسه جدا في الاتجاه ده. كاريتاس مصر لها ذراع مايكرو فاينانس، وهي تصنيفها ب، مش تصنيفها من الجامعات الكبيره في المايكرو فاينانس، لكنها خدت خطوات في مساله يعني تامين عمليه منح التمويلات واستلام الاقساط من العملاء بتوعها. ده الاتجاه اللي حضرتك محتاجه ولا؟
يس.
اللي عاجبني ان الموضوع ان انا مش بتكلم عن حد من اللعيبه الكبار اللي عندها مليارات، لا انا بتكلم في محفظه معقوله يعني بسيطه، لكنهم خدوا خطوات سريعه، ويمكن سبقوا جمعيات تصنيفها الف، وسبقوا الشركات اللي هي المستثمرين اللي في السوق في انهم ينفذوا كارت ميزه ده مع عملائهم، وبنسبه يعني تجاوز ال 80% من العملاء بقوا يستخدموا كارت الميزه ده. طيب العميل عنده تخوف، هو طمنه ازاي؟ ربط كارت الميزه بتاعه ده بالاي دي نمبر بتاع العميل، وما اكتفاش بكده، ربطه كمان برقم التليفون بتاع العميل. فبقى قبل عمليه المنح ما بتتم بيحصل التاكيد على الرقمين دول، الرقم القومي والرقم الموبايل بتاع العميل ده بالربط مع البنك. طبعا في البدايه كانت لهم يعني مشاكل كتير ظهرت، بداوا يتعاملوا معاها. النهارده بقى اكتر مكان تثق فيه العملاء بيروح مطمن ان هو هياخد رقم او هياخد باسورد ينزل يصرف بيه التمويل هو كاريتاس. بقيه الشركات الكبيره والجامعات الكبيره بتحاول يعني تمشي في الخطوات دي عشان تبدا تنفذها. فده اللي كان عاجبني ككيس ستادي، يعني ممكن كمان يعني نوثقها ونعملها برضه نبعتها لحضرتك ان شاء الله.
تسلم يا حبيبي، شكرا لك. Thank you very much actually. For the time which is left, which is we have 3 minutes or 5 minutes maximum for the audience, just to let them know. I will give 1 minute per each for answering one question from your experience as working with regulator, as Simon, Arij closely work with MSME support. What would be the future trend actually of using customer authentication in general, and how regulators would deal with that? And this is your advice to this. Just very quickly, by 30 seconds per each. Simon, starting with you. How do you find that? You are muted, Simon.
Sorry. So I think the important thing is for regulators to make really clear specifications about the security and consent flows. So in my experience, for instance, PSD2 and even Berlin Group, which is a standard based on PSD2, it's very fluffy, right? You could interpret the security parts of the specification, in many ways, and that's understandable because it was designed by a consortium of banks, right? And they want to have lots and lots of flexibility.
Yeah.
But the more flexibility that you have, the harder it is to understand the standard and so on. And actually, I think the UK standard is better in that regard. And obviously, Open Bank Project has its own standard.
Yeah.
And we define the standard in source code and with example applications like we showed earlier, our consent tester, right? So I'm a firm believer in the source code as being truth. So
yeah,
that's what I would recommend, right? Really to define everything in APIs and make the security things really, as clear as possible.
Yeah.
Obviously, banks could implement like even easier ways as well, but at least they should implement a common standard.
Yeah.
That's my suggestion.
Thank you, Simon, for your input. Actually, Arij, very quickly. Your recommendation.
Yes, I agree with what Simon just said. But again, having the practices and the activities on ground tackling the open banking strategy in Jordan, I think highlighting and focusing on the legal framework of sharing these data and how much time I would reserve, and do I really have the right to reserve these data within the fintech, let's say, providers or the payment service provider. I think the governor at this time need to focus on the legal framework between sharing these data.
So the legal framework that would enhance or put back the practices actually in that regard. So either to a success factor.
Yes. It's not about legalities or the licensing, the TPPs and so on. It's about even educating the stakeholders about the legal framework behind having open banking and open finance practices in Jordan.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Arij. Ali, quickly and before closing.
انا عايز اقول ان الجهات الرقابيه في مصر على سبيل المثال بتاخد خطوات متسارعه جدا الفتره اللي فاتت. النمو في الديجيتال بيمنتس بيتم بشكل سريع، بس هم بيحاولوا يلاحقوا ده. انا شايف ان هم محتاجين جهد زياده مع تبسيط اللغه. هو بيستخدم ادوات واعلانات وترويج للخدمات اللي بيقدمها وللتوعيه والارشاد للاستخدام الصحيح ليها من خلال تبسيط اللغه. ده لو تم ان شاء الله لنا نتائج ايجابيه كبيره.
ان شاء الله. في سؤال وصلنا من حد الحضور بيسال what is the percentage of non-banked people in Egypt؟ عدد الناس، نسبة الناس غير المشمولين في الخدمات البنكية.
70%.
كم؟
70%.
70%. هل تعتقد وهذا would lead للفاينانشال ديجيتال فاينانشال تكنولوجي انها راح تكون لها اثر ايجابي سريع في تخفيف هذه النسبة؟
سريع جدا، يعني خلال السنتين اللي جايين دول يكون الرقم مختلف تماما.
طيب ممتاز جدا. يعني I think
طبعا هو 70% غير مشمولين.
yeah غير مشمولين. Yeah, 70% غير مشمولين. We have around يعني close percentage close to this. Anyhow, so I think we reached to the end, but I would remind everyone that in the chat we will have an evaluation form for the session, so or for the webinar that we did today. So I would request your 2-3 minutes extra just to reply for 5-6 questions, very quick questions. So you will see in the chat a link. If you can press it, you can and follow the link to fill the information or to reply to the questions. That would help us actually to improve and enhance our coming webinars. We have 4 left webinars that are going to happen within the coming 4 weeks. So we'll keep you posted actually with the coming webinars and the details of it. But before closing, I want just to briefly wrap up what we have said actually about customer authentication and consent management. I think from all the different background and experiences, from your experience, I feel that this is the financial technology is the future. It's coming in all ways and means. It's a learning curve at the end. Customer authentication, consent management, there's ups and downs with different experiences in different parts of the world. But I think as long as we have a vision of improving our practices in a way or another and keep searching for innovation in API, let's say, application to protect the data and security and to build the trust, because it varies from country to country where the trust is coming from in dealing with technology. 10 years ago, it's totally different what is happening now. Or 3 years ago, before COVID-19, it had different of what are the trust bridge that have been built with the financial technology platform. So I think if we build open banking and open finance, open data, and we enrich it with a customer authentication procedure and consent management steps that to make sure that the information is private, it's taking care of privacy, it's in safely, we can use it for getting more financial services in a proper way, not to be misused. I think the future is there, is coming. So I would say that we have to not to compromise, as we said, security versus usability. We want to make sure of outreach with the flexibility. Regulatory compliance is very important. Regulators, they aware of that challenges that we are facing as an industry, but I think they have to take care of about the risks and not to misuse the data in an improper way, let's say. So I will stop here, and I don't see if the link is already shared, Rafi.
It is shared in the chat box.
Okay, I'm not seeing it. Okay. Yes, I'm up. So if you can spend just 2-3 minutes, I would thank my guests, my speakers, my panelists, Mr. Simon, Mr. Ali, and Mrs. Arij. Thank you very much for being with us today and for the session. And looking forward to see you in person maybe in the future.